The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hoop Ballers! Welcome back to another episode, another edition of Today in Sports Betting. I'm your host, Devin Ellington at VDALE7 on Twitter. And going to talk about our show a little bit. Going to have a special guest back on, a friend of the show. Going to be good to have some insight from him coming up. We're going to probably dig into some NFL and college football per usual. And before we do, though, I'm going to talk about Manscaped, because that's the show's sponsor. Manscaped.com, you use promo code HoopBall20, HOOPBALL20, to get free shipping and 20% off of tons of their great products, namely the Lawnmower 3.0 that just came out. It's fully electric, full-on waterproof, water-resistant technology. So use that promo code and get some free money, and then let them know that we sent you, specifically me. So Lawnmower 3.0, Manscaped. All right. And then, let's just go ahead and introduce our main man coming in. I'll get into the other stuff later. But Russ, great to have you back on, boss. It's been a little too long. And here we are again, and we got some really fun stuff to talk about.
Well, it's great to be back here on your show, Devin. I appreciate the being on the show. I really enjoy it. Enjoy talking about sports and enjoy talking to you about it. And I look forward to offering some insights later on as we get into the NFL locally here in New York in this area. The main concern right now is why Joe Judge fired his offensive line coach, Mark Colombo, from the Cowboys. He was Garrett's guy. So something had to happen there, probably behind the scenes. It might not have been production related. They said Judge was working with some of the linemen during the weeks and stuff lately. So maybe he was doing his job and he felt Colombo wasn't following direction. But that's kind of a big news here, because at the end of the day, the Giants have won 2 straight. They're 3-7, and the division looks like it's ripe for the taking. So we'll see if this move was done as a way to shake up the team in a positive way, whether it backfires on Joe Judge or whether it catapults them even further along in their development as a team. So it'll be very interesting to watch the last 6 games. But the fact that the Giants will have a football season after Thanksgiving is a step up from the last 3 seasons of debacle.
That's, very good points. And to be honest, the firing of their offensive line coach, that slipped through the cracks on my radar. So, see, I'm already learning stuff from you. I appreciate that.
Well, it helps when you turn on WFAN in New York. You get all the local news as it happens. So
right, yes. I love me some talk radio. I love AM radio. It needs to just stay around forever. So, all right, Russ. Well, we're going to unpack a few college games. I figured we could go ahead and just roll right into some action since it's what's on tonight. And last night's games featured 2 teams that were towards the top of the MAC going up against the bottom feeders in Bowling Green and Akron. But tonight, Toledo's taking on Eastern Michigan, and they were a 7.5-point favorite at opening line. It dipped down to 6.5. I got that number because it went south of the key number. It's back to 7. Over under 58 was opening line, and then 61.5 is where we are at currently. Lots of confidence, it looks like, in the Toledo side, driving this total up, and then probably their team total bets are getting bet all up. So have you looked at this game at all?
Yes, I have, and I love Eastern Michigan tonight, Devin. I think we're on the same side there. Toledo 0-7 in their last 7 against the spread on the road. 1-5 their last 6 games. Toledo is holy Toledo. They're not playing very well. They're not playing holy Toledo football. And I think Eastern Michigan is really doing a great job. And I too grabbed them at -6.5, so I'm under a touchdown, that magic number. And I know the line actually Eastern Michigan's getting points. My mistake. Eastern Michigan's getting points. I thought they were going to be favored. Maybe I'm crazy, but I love Eastern Michigan tonight, plus the 8. I probably like them outright. I guess we're on opposite sides on this game. But I do like Eastern Michigan to win. I don't think Toledo's very good this year after watching them play last week. I don't usually watch MAC football, but with the COVID situation, there's not much on during the week now. There's no other sports going on yet. And, Toledo, Eastern Michigan's to play here, folks. Was it last week that all three Michigans won, Eastern, Western, and Central? I had a little parlay going with all the Michigans. That was a great night for me with Michigan. Obviously, you're better off betting the Eastern, Western, and Centrals than the regular Michigan team. Yeah. But that's for another time. But, I do like the points in this ball game, plus the 8.
Yeah. Well, it's always I've been finding a little more fun in it as of late of being on opposing sides of things as my in cohorts, and my friends and whatnot, and people on Twitter that I interact with. It just makes it a little more interesting, and it makes it, it shows that we all kind of look at things a little differently, and we all look for different things. But like you said, you like the Eastern Michigan side. I think I like the Toledo side probably just as much as you like the Eagles. But as of right now, there's 3 major injuries that I'm looking at for Eastern Michigan, and that's their 2 top receiving threats as well as Darius Boone Jr. out of the backfield. And I know he has an important part of their team all over him. Like his scrimmage yards and the way they script him into the game is pretty important. But it's the MAC, and you never know. I think Eli Peters for Toledo needs to have a really good game. He needs to take advantage of this Eastern Michigan defense that allows an opponent completion percentage of 70.49%. And then, I have confidence in Toledo's offensive line. They're 2.5% sack rates, best, 18th best in the country right now. So time of possession is also another strength of theirs. I'm actually going to put 1.5 units on Toledo tonight to cover -6.5. So, like I said, it's fun to be on different sides and get different perspective, and that's what we offer.
No question about it, Dev.
So, all right. Want to talk about another Michigan school? Or 2 more Michigan schools? Western and Central Michigan. Total right now is going to be, let's see, it was moving around this morning when I was checking it. Where is it settled at? Wow, it's gone to 58.5. I locked in the over at 61.5, so I don't know how I feel about that. But I locked in the under 61.5, so I feel really good about that line move then. First, both of these defenses, in my opinion, are ranked towards the top of the MAC. A couple big points for Western Michigan here is the fact that they as a team have a quarterback rating of 206.2. Granted, small sample size, but they've played. I think this will be their 3rd game. So after 2 games, that's still pretty good as far as the QBR. And then they're also the number 1 rated conference road team in the MAC. Western Michigan is. So I have a lot of faith in Western Michigan tonight to get it done. They have the more explosive offense, but this Chippewa's defense, specifically on 3rd down, these guys are animals, and this is going to be a really great game tonight.
It will be a great game. It's a great matchup tonight between Western and Central. I kind of like the home team in this game, Central Michigan a little bit more. I lean towards Central Michigan, but I really have a good play on the total. I kind of like the under tonight. I think 62 is a little too high for this amount for these 2 teams, and I kind of like under 62 in this ballgame.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with the total, but again, differing sides. That's always fun. Looks like we're expecting 14-mile-per-hour winds coming in from the south in Mount Pleasant tonight. So maybe that could have been what's driving that line down. All right. So I think that wraps it. Oh, actually, we got one more MAC game we can throw out there real quick. I didn't do too much digging on this one, but Northern Iowa. No, I had it right. Northern Illinois. The Huskies are taking on Ball State. It opened at 9.5 as them being the road dog, NIU. And now it's up to 14.5. Over-under is set at 62.
Is a good reason, Devin, why that line moved all those points. Ball State is a lot better than Northern Illinois.
Right.
and I look for Ball State to click on all cylinders. I say Ball State wins by 24 to 30 points tonight.
Yeah, that NIU team's not inspiring me at all. I've watched a couple of their games. Last week they played against Buffalo and just got destroyed. They got dominated in all facets of the game. Ball State, they're coming off of a loss from who was it that they lost to last? I can't remember, but I did bet against them and it hit. But yeah, so I think this is a good bounce back spot for Ball State. Follow the big steam on this one, I think. And then if you don't want to go that high, then maybe look at a first half play. But you could even throw, some heavy chalk into a parlay with Ball State tonight if you wanted to on the money line. So if you need to throw a little ingredient into your parlay soup. So, all right. I've got one more college game, unless you had anything else to say on this one.
No.
All right.
I think of the three plays, the first play I gave you was my top play of the night, the points with Eastern Michigan, I believe it was.
Yep.
Plus the 8. That would be my best play of the night, and the total in that other game, the under 62 in the other game are my two best plays in MAC. What do you call it? Maction. I love that. It's a great term you came up with, Dev. Maction.
Oh, I can't coin that one, but I wish I could, as well as the Fun Belt. So Purdue and Minnesota. This game is interesting to me. I usually don't touch the Big Ten too much. Not that I'm oppo or against the Big Ten. I like my Big 12 and my small schools. Purdue's right now at a 2.5-point favorite on the road. I think it's in at 3 in some spots. Yep, I'm seeing 3s. It opened as a pick'em, and so that's what kind of got me interested and got me digging into the Purdue side, because I've seen Minnesota play pretty dismally this year. And just to speak on that defense real briefly here, I'll be pretty short. Golden Gophers are ranked 90th or worse in all but 2 defensive categories. And then the 2 categories that they're not ranked 90th or worse in, they're important categories. They're red zone defense percentage and third down conversion percentage for their opponents. But I think that's inflated due to the teams that they have played and the luck factor that's kind of rolled into it. So what I'm going with here is Purdue minus 2.5, and I like the total over of 60.5 also, just because the defenses aren't going to offer too much resistance. And that Purdue passing attack is just watch it. Yeah, just watch it. So didn't know if you had an opinion on that game or a couple others you wanted to get into.
I will say this. I think that be careful. Purdue doesn't play as well on the road, but then again, there's really not much of a home field advantage this year. Mm-hmm. So I kind of don't have an opinion on either of the teams. Purdue on the road scares me. Minnesota has not played very well either, but as a home dog of 3 or more, I think they may cover this one. But I would lean away from that one. One game I'm looking at is the Auburn game. They are playing I believe they're playing Tennessee. Auburn's playing Tennessee on Saturday. Auburn's a 10-point favorite off a bye week. I love and I was on them on the last show. I believe I gave Auburn as a pick, and they came through for me. And I'm gonna give them another shot here on Saturday.
I remember that pick. I was on the opposite side. I think that was the what game was that? LSU Auburn.
Yeah, LSU Auburn, and Auburn
rolled them.
I think Auburn lost that one actually. If I'm not mistaken, but I'm going to come back with them this time against Tennessee. Tennessee is not playing very well right now. Auburn's off a bye. I think Auburn wins by 2 touchdowns. So I like Auburn on Saturday. And the other game that I think is very interesting, I don't know if it's a mistake and if you got to be careful, but I think Penn State is favored, if I'm not mistaken, at home. Oh, no, they're a small underdog at home to Iowa. Now, Penn State does not have their fans, right, in Pennsylvania. That's a team that really, you now see the value of that 100,000 stadium, 100,000 seat capacity stadium coming into play, and they are going in the wrong direction as a program. Coach Franklin and his squad. So I kind of like Iowa in that game too. So if I had to give you 2 for Saturday, I'd go Iowa and Auburn. I gave Notre Dame over Clemson straight up a few weeks back too. I hit that one. So again, Iowa and Auburn on Saturday are my two best actions for those of you looking to get some future bets in. If you could grab Iowa minus 2.5 or under, under that magic number of 3, that's good. And if you could get Auburn minus 10 or under, 9.5 or under, you're doing well there as well. But I do have an NFL lock of the year going Thursday night.
Lock of the year.
Yeah, lock of the year. NFL Thursday night. We'll call it Thursday night lock of the year because we want to start the weekend off right with our bets, Devin. And it's Arizona +3 and it's Arizona outright. They've scored 30 points or more the last 5 games. Kyler Murray's playing possessed. One team's going up, the other team's going down. Seattle's defense is very susceptible. This kid is the real deal, this Murray kid for Arizona. I look for Arizona to win that game in a big fashion and with a high-scoring game. So Arizona in the over is a nice little lock parlay for you for Thursday night, Devin.
Yeah, I was actually going to look into that game, and I appreciate you sharing that with us. Being a Seattle fan, I agree with you 100%. So I think that you were right on it with that one. Kyler Murray is just phenomenal. And that Cardinal offense, they just got Kenyon Drake back. Let's see if he can get rolling and be explosive like he was last year. Maybe get him involved in the passing game like they did in the second half of the season last year, which really just, helped him thrive. They've got Chase Edmonds, so they've got a healthy offensive line on top of that. And then Kyler Murray, like you said, once that kid makes something happen, it's hard to shut him back down or stop him. He nothing is ever dead with him, as we saw in that Hail Mary against Buffalo. So that was a phenomenal game. All right. Well, speaking of NFL, I got a couple of takes I want to throw your way and bounce off you, see what your general opinion is. Before I do, though, we need to talk about mybookie.ag, the other show sponsor for today. And that's going to be mybookie.ag. Promo code is hoopball, HOOPBALL. Go on there, get all registered and signed up. Let them know that we sent you. You'll get a deposit bonus, 100% initial deposit match, as well as some free future money to wager with for future shows or future games and such. And get in there, get on the action. They have some blackjack. They have also different casino games and all sorts of different things you can wager on. If you want to wager on the award season stuff, the Grammys, the Oscars, which I think is coming up in November soon, or the end of the year, that's always fun to get in on. And you can do that with some free money. So go to mybookie.ag, use promo code HOOPBALL, bet, win, and get paid. So the NFL sector, like I said, I needed to dig a little more into, and I needed to figure out how I wanted to play some things this week, because I've been pretty, I've been pretty cold in NFL the last couple of weeks, and that might be because I give so much effort into college football, but I'm always looking to gain perspective. And so I have a couple of NFL plays this week that I was looking at that I wanted to toss around and see what, general thoughts they got. First and foremost, I was looking at the under 46.5 in Cincinnati and Washington. The Cincinnati defense, they can actually offer up resistance. And we know about the Washington football team's defense and how their pass defense, as well as their pass rush and run defense, is actually, really, really solid. And I think both offenses are just anemic enough to where they don't get anything done. So I was looking, like I said, at the under 46.5. Didn't know if you had an opinion on this one, Russ. And if you did, you could go ahead and share that with me. And then another one I wanted to toss out was Miami and Denver, like Miami -3. It's already gone up to 3.5. They're on the road against Denver. So those are my two NFL looks right now. And
I
didn't
think,
know.
so I'm going to start with the second game, Miami. They're kind of due for a letdown in this game. They're going on the road to Denver in the Mile High City. The weather might not be very good in Denver on Sunday. So I would take the 3.5 if you could get it with Denver in that game. Fade the public. The public's going to be all over Miami now that they're winning. They're 6-3. Flores has done an outstanding job with the new quarterback Tua. They're a good team. They're well coached. I like watching Miami play, but I think they might be in for a letdown this week. The total that I liked last week, just to rehash a lock total I had, was Cleveland was playing Houston. Thank you, Devin. And I love the under 40. I think it was 45 it went down to. The line actually moved 10 points from when it opened. It opened at 50-something and went down to 40, 45, 44. I had the under. It was, I think, 3-0 at the half. I was already cashing my ticket. So, and the game you mentioned, the total, which game was that again? The first
Cincinnati
game?
and Washington. Under 46.5, I think it was.
Cincinnati, and it was 46.5. I think you're onto something with the under in that game.
Yeah, those offenses are just
there. In that game, I wouldn't bet that. I wouldn't bet the side with your money. Cincinnati, Washington. That's not a good game to bet, in my opinion. There are a few games, and in fact, we're going into week 11, and I'm still alive in my survivor pools, and I'm amazed that I'm still alive. It's the furthest I've ever gotten in the history of me doing these survivor pools, to be full disclosure. But one of my picks is Minnesota over Dallas. I like that one. And the other pool, I'm going to take the LA Chargers over those lowly Jets, Jets, which from what I understand stands for just end the season. I didn't know that until recently. I heard that. Yeah. That was pretty funny. So, those are my two survivor picks for those of you playing survivor out there. So good luck with that. Yeah,
I think those are pretty easily considered lockable. Dallas, man, at this point, they're looking to get a top 5 draft pick, I think, top 10, maybe to help rebuild that offensive line that they lost so many pieces on. And, of course, it's always easy to bet against the Jets. A game I can't decide heads or tails on is Green Bay and Indianapolis. It opened at Green Bay -2.5. Now Green Bay's getting 2 points on the road against Phillip Rivers and the Colts. And I was, I'm seeing the Packers at +105, +110 in some spots on the money line. So I thought, there's some pretty good value with that. If they get close to like 2 points, they're probably just going to win the game. But yeah, that's, like I said, just a very small NFL intake for me so far this week. Definitely got.
What's your take on the game Thursday night, Arizona and Seattle?
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Of course, the over is definitely in play with these two quarterbacks. The overtime game last time they played was exciting. And, Kyler Murray's phenomenal. So getting him up there against the Seattle defense, that's just, terrible to put it simple. It's always an exciting game when these two teams get together. And it's a key divisional game. The Seahawks have lost, I think, 3 in a row now, 4 of their last 5. So they're going to need this one. They were sitting in good position early on, and now not so much.
Got any best bets for the weekend?
So
NFL goes?
It's this is going to be a little more juicier than what I normally hand out, but the New England -130 against Houston, I think that's a good spot to go. It's -2.5 on the spread, and Houston's not really doing much under Romeo Crennel. J.J. Watt's talking about leaving already. I think it's dissipating out there in Houston. And then now you got New England who, they've won 2 in a row.
Why is that spread so low? Why is that spread so low?
I don't know.
Don't you think they should be at least 4 points?
That's 4 or 5.
It's Belichick. He's 4-5. Don't underestimate him. The last 7 games as a head coach. I'm sure you agree. Clearly you think they're going to beat Houston. They should, which would put them at 500 with 6 to go. And
They're going to get into the postseason.
In a division that's wide open. I mean, the Bills let them back in the door there the other day by not knocking that ball down.
Yeah.
You know? That's the only thing that scares me about Arizona this week, Thursday night, and why I almost didn't make it with such high opinion on Arizona this week is because they may have a little bit of a letdown after that huge comeback.
Right.
And I started thinking, how could they let down? They're playing Seattle. It's in the division.
Yeah.
It's always a shootout anyway, so I kind of like the over with Seattle. But the point I'm making is that game with the Patriots against Houston, I think New England should win that game. You know, the trends definitely point to New England winning that game as far as the historical trend goes, because Belichick's a winner the last 20 years or so. So you kind of go with New England now until they lose again, and then if they lose that 6th game. You know, and Buffalo continues to do well, which they, you know, who does Buffalo have this week, Devin?
Buffalo is on a bye, I believe. Yeah, Buffalo's on a bye.
I'll tell you, the Chargers might be a good pick. What are they laying? Under 10? Are they laying under 10?
They're at 8.5. It opened at 10.
Yeah, see, that's weird that it lowered. I mean, the Jets did compete their last game with New England, but now they're going out west to play the Chargers, and the Chargers need to win. I mean, they're not really a great team either, though. That's what would scare me from a Chargers survivor pick standpoint. They should win, and they should cover. I mean, if they just play up to their capability, I think the Chargers should win this game.
What about and I'm just kind of scrolling through these and looking at some value in the lines as we talk about them. What about Atlanta taking on the Saints with fresh off of, not having Drew Brees? First game, they're plus 190 on the money line. Atlanta's getting 5 points. Their defense, if you watch the tape from the last 3 weeks of their defense, they're actually playing. I think, they've been, I want to say, top 15 or 10 graded in a lot of different metrics from PFF or, other different grading ranking systems. Like, their defense is actually starting to entrench a little bit and offer resistance. And the offense is, it's capable. It's got so many pieces. And they played well their last game out, without Calvin Ridley. So they took care of business against Denver, won by 7, covered the 4.5. It was a home game. They're going on the road. I think a lot of people are going to be on the New Orleans side because it's going to be exciting to back them with Jameis or whatever.
Not me. I'm not backing the Saints in that game. If anything, I'm leaning the Falcons there in that spot because it's a little different coming into a game with a big lead against San Francisco. They fell down 10-0, then they got a big lead, and then they held on against San Francisco. They won by 2 touchdowns, covered. That being said, that's not the same San Francisco team. The Saints will not be the same team with Winston at the QB spot versus Drew Brees. I mean, he was a turnover machine in Tampa. He might not be. Maybe they're straightening him out down in New Orleans. But it's a very intriguing game. I actually, if I had to bet that game, I think I'd take the over just from a standpoint of it's indoors, right? In New Orleans, it's in the Dome. And Atlanta's a good dome team. New Orleans is a good dome team. And even though the Saints have the backup quarterback, the Falcons' defense, as much as they've played well recently, historically against the Saints, they've probably allowed at least 24, 27 points. So if you think it'll be a good game, close game, you take the over and hold your breath. What's the total on that game?
50.5.
50.5. So 27, 24, you get there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'd like to go below 47, that number. So maybe you tease them over 45, and you take Atlanta plus 11.5 and the over 45.5. And I think you're in good shape. But don't underestimate that Saints defense either. I mean,
sure, yeah.
It's not a bad defense.
Marcus Davenport.
They make plays. I don't know about that game. I don't think I'd put my money on that game. If you want my opinion, I would take Atlanta in a teaser. Go across the 7 and 10 mark, go up. I mean, so take Atlanta plus 11.5 off a bye, extra time to prepare, and then I tease it with the over in that game, over 45.5. I think that's a better play for that game. Giants are on a bye, so we don't have to talk about my big blue. Come back and play the Bengals in 2 weeks, and that gets them the 4 wins, hopefully. And then if they could win that last game against the Cowboys in the division the last week, that'll get them 5 wins. That'll be no worse than 5-11, which if you do the metrics out, which I have in the NFC East or NFC least,
Yep.
the division definitely will be won with 6 wins for sure. You only need 6 wins, but 5 may even get there. That's the way I'm looking at that division. If you look at the metrics, who these teams play, they're terrible outside their division, these teams.
Yeah.
They don't win games. Like the Giants have won 3 games. They've all been in their division. So that's why Cincinnati becomes a tough game for them at Cincinnati.
Philly's playing Cleveland this week, so you'll see how they perform outside of the division. They activated Zach Ertz back. I don't know how much that's going to help because, they don't have a quarterback to throw him the ball effectively.
Wentz is terrible.
It's that offensive line. I mean, I think they're just 10 guys down on that offensive line unit from the start.
I would pick Cleveland. What's Cleveland laying a touchdown in that game?
They're -3.5.
Wow.
So I like them straight up.
Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a good pick. If you're looking to bet, just kind of pick maybe like a little.
I think if you pick against the NFC East when they're out of division and against the Jets,
yeah,
you probably make money the rest of the year.
Yeah, Cleveland's defense is starting to play really well. So keep an eye on that. They're quietly 6-3 and in the hunt of a playoff spot. So yeah, I think that is going to probably wrap it up for me as far as NFL stuff goes. I think we talked to Bevy and good amount of college football like we always do. We got some exciting action to go along with dinner tonight. And, I want to remind folks about the Hoopball 360 and Hoopball Premium stuff over at hoop-ball.com. There's different packages for fantasy basketball, the Wager Pass. You got the DFS articles and the DFS Pass with Discord chats and servers with your professionals over there at the DFS sector. This is award-winning fantasy basketball content. They've been doing it for quite some time now, and the results are in the pudding. And I think you should try some of the pudding is what I'm saying. So, Russ, let's hear some last little tidbits from you. You got any other points you want to drive home or any other things?
It's hard to believe that we're entering Week 11 in the NFL, and let's say some prayers for all those who are suffering from any viruses, diseases, or otherwise, that we can get through the rest of the season and have playoffs and have a Super Bowl because, that's something to look forward to. On that note, the other question I have for you, and maybe you know the answer about college basketball, will we be getting a college basketball season this year?
A full one? It's going to be hard. There's a lot of travel and a lot of games in college basketball. If I was going to bet yes or no, I would probably say yes, just because the way that we're going with all the rest of the sports, I think that the way folks are handling it and the way it's kind of normalizing within our society, I think, there's a whole lot more leniency. It does speak volumes, however, that the Ivy League canceled their seasons already. So
the only thing there, Dev, is most of those players and athletes are going there for their education, not so much to make the professional ranks, unlike a lot of schools where basketball is important. Plus, you didn't have a Final Four last year. There was no March Madness. Yeah. Hopefully, I heard this morning on the news that Pfizer has a vaccine coming out the beginning of December. It's going to be tested, and it could be out to the general public by the beginning of January. So if that does happen and if things flatten out a little bit over the next few weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, that we will be back to somewhat normalcy by March or April, and a baseball season that won't get interrupted and it'll go off as scheduled. But I'll tell you, it's amazing what we've seen. These athletes have sacrificed a lot to stay COVID-free. 90% of them have stayed COVID-free, and that, especially in the National Football League, because of the way they play. And there was a study out in state of Connecticut, that coronavirus amongst high school athletes has not spread through sports. It's spread in other ways.
Right.
So, we need something. We need, we we can't live in isolation. We need to go out and see people and socialize and watch sports and have that. And so not being able to, as a lifelong job, not being able to watch the games this week, watch the games this year, a couple games live at the stadium has been very ridiculous. But that's the rules they put out. So you live with them. But let's pray that we get a good, safe holiday to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Devin.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thankful that you had me on your show today, and I appreciate it. And looking forward to seeing you again.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thankful that you were able to make the time, and I always appreciate your presence on the show. I know the guests like it. One other segue I'll take before we get out of here is, to piggyback a little off of Russ's comments, is the fact that, like you said, these athletes are, they're giving up a ton, and they're, trying to make it work because of their love of the game. These college kids love to play basketball. They love to play football. The professionals get paid to do it, but, these college athletes, there's a lot going on, obviously, for them and for everyone. So, and then don't forget, folks, the NBA draft is tonight. Didn't even talk about that, but earlier in the week, Vince and I talked about Anthony Edwards at plus 160 as the number one pick. We thought that was the great value. LaMelo, I think it's LaMelo Ball in this draft, or I can't remember. It's one of the Ball brothers. He's like minus 220 to go number one overall, and I just don't believe that. I think it's all hype. It's all the Ball thing again. So Anthony Edwards offering really great value out of Georgia, plus 160. I think that's a great spot, and it's going to be exciting. We're going to see some trades. We're going to see some picks moved around, and keep an eye on that because it's going to be heavy implications for free agency coming up too. It'll show some teams' cards. But with that being said, and getting off on that tangent, just want to let you all know that I'm sending you my good vibes and all of my good energies like always. And I appreciate the listen and the follow. But if you would, leave one of those 5-star reviews on Apple Music for us, and then subscribe and follow on Spotify and all that other stuff. At DALE again, 007, at DALE 007 on Twitter. And Russ is at Russ Ramblin. And the show, you'll find us at Hoopball Gaming. So get out there, follow us, be safe, and listen up for the next one. So thanks again, Russ. I appreciate you coming back on, boss.
Thank you, Dev. Be well, everyone.
Take care.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.